Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll be learning about SQL and how to store data and stuff in a SQL database, right? So without any further delay, let's get started. Uh, so our motto is to use SQL to store data. Now before that, let's learn what database is. It's basically is a way to store data, right? Let me show you. Let me use a pen. Okay, so there are many ways of storing data. One way is to store data in the form of tables. So let's say this is a student table. So a student has an ID, student has a name, and student has an age. So let's say ID is 1, name is let's say Alex, and age is 21. Then ID is 2, and name is Paul, and age is 23, and so on, right? So this is one way to store data in the form of tables. Another way to store data is in the form of JSON. JSON, if you know what is, it's called JavaScript object notation. So we can store data like this. It's too thick. Let me zoom out for a bit. Yep. So another way is to store like this. Let's say name uh, will be let's say ABC, and age will be let's say 21 and something, right? So this is one way of storing data. Another way, as I discussed, is to use tables, right? This is one more way of storing data, right? So there are several ways. Come on, just a minute. Yeah. So anyway, these are the ways. For now, we will be learning how to store data in the form of tables. So we will be doing something like this. We'll be creating a table with an ID, a name, age, role, or something, right? And the table has a name, let's say student or something. Now, if you think about it, there can be several tables. Now, what is a database? A database is a collection of tables. So there can be many tables, right? For example, let's say you own a company, you are the CEO of a company, right? Now, in your company, there are employees and there is a customer, there are legal tax, right? All the legal taxes and all this stuff. And then there is payments, right? So for each stuff, you need a separate table. Like for employees, you need the employee name, employee phone number, how much salary they receive, their ID, something, right? For customer, you need customer ID, customer name, how much they paid, and the date. For tax, you need to see how much you spent, how much you saved, and total cost, etc. For payment, you need to see how much you paid, to whom you paid, what was the date, and was the transaction debit or credit, something like so stuff like that. So for each thing, you need a different table. Now, to store all of this table, we need something called a database, right? So if you think about it, we have a desktop application. Let's think about our desktop app. In our application, the user can select dark theme or light theme, anyway, right? Either dark or light theme. So this is a choice. Now the user can also save his Gmail password or something, right? Username, password, and stuff. Now the user can also like save his files, right? Also the user can write notes and save in your app, right? So all the notes and all this stuff. So storing all these things require databases, right? So instead in databases, we need to store each thing in a different table. So one table can be settings. In settings table, you will store the light theme and the dark theme and the email and all this stuff, right? Another, or not the email. The email can be stored in the user table, but the user information is there, like username, password, whether he paid user or if he's a free user, right? And another table can be for files and data and all this stuff, right? A data table. So similarly, in our application, we need multiple tables to store data, and all this thing will be stored in a DB file, right? This is a different file, like file.db or name.db, or let's say user.db, something like a database file. So this is what we will be going to do in this lecture. So first of all, let's first try to create a database. Now there can be many databases, right? Let's Google types of database. So if you know there is a relational, non-relational database, and then there is object database, time-based databases, and all this stuff. So for now we will be going with SQL. databases, right? So this is an example. Like a university has departments, each require its own database and all this stuff, right? Uh, See, they are storing data in the form of tables, as we discussed. So we can also store in many different formats. So yeah, without any further delay, let's get started. So this is basic window. I'll change the color of the window to gray, so it's good for the eye. Also import QT controls, and also I'll import the module. The module name can be found in CMake list. It's called Learn SQL. I'll import this thing right now. After this, let's add a button center in the parent. Now, for now, let's just add the text to create database. So if you got confused, let me tell you again. Database stores your data. This contains all the tables. So database is the first thing you need to create. After that, you need to create tables. And then when you store data like light theme or dark theme, whichever the user chose, you store inside the table, right? So the data is stored inside a table, and all these tables are stored inside a database, right? So we will be first creating a database, then create the table, and then use the table to store light theme, dark theme, and all the other data which we want to store, right? Or the user email and all this stuff. So if you have the user email, you store in the table, right? In any table which you want. So yeah, first of all, create the database file, then create the table. So in this video, we'll only create the database, right? So yeah, now how to create a database? First of all, create CPP file. I will call this backend helper, and base class will be Q object. Add QML element. Next and finish. Give it some time to load. I'll press F4 here. Yep. Now here also add QML singleton, so we can directly access this in the UI without creating any object. I hope you remember. If I don't add singleton, what I have to do is I have to create an object here called backend helper and give it an ID of, let's say, backend helper or something backlight, and then I can use this. If I create a singleton, I don't need to do this. I can directly use the backend helper. So that's why create QML singleton. Now create a Q invocable method here. We will set the return type as void and call this setup database. So first of all, you have to set up, or in other words, create the database, right? Setup is a more general term. Add definition, and here we will add the logic to create the database. But before that, let's build the application once. Let's give it some time to build. Sorry. Yeah, I think this is built. So on clicked, what we will do is we call backend helper dot setup database method. Now we can directly set up the database inside this method. So for that, what we need to do is we need to add a QSQL database class. Now to add this class, if you see the CMake, we need to add SQL here in the find package. So let's open the CMake text file, and here you will find package. Beside quick, you need to add SQL. And again, if you see here target link libraries, you need to add this thing, Qt6 SQL. Here you will find target link libraries. Just add Qt6 SQL here. Now build the application once more and go to the backend helper.header file. Now here we have to add the uh, QSQL database. Let it build first, then we will add Q. Okay, it's not displaying. We have to add this header file. Let's build the application once and see. Okay, so I think this was not saved, I guess, because I added SQL here and I added QSQL here. Now let's see. Yeah, we have added this thing here. Let's rebuild. Okay, so for some reason I'm not able to add this. Now why is that? This should not be the case. Actually, this is not the way. We should have directly access this thing here. Come on, something is wrong here. Let me check. In this CMake list file, let's run clear CMake and run again. Now it's added. Yeah. For some reason, I don't know why, but my like CMake is really messed up. My system issue. But if you had the same issue, you could just clear CMake and run it again. That would have fixed it, right? So yeah. Now we can add QSQL database here. So now what we will do is we will create the database file, and it's easy. Just copy this thing here. We will mention everything here. We don't need host name. We don't need username, password, anything, right? So these three lines. Now PSQL is PostgreSQL. There are many SQL databases, right? I think you have heard of MySQL, and Oracle is also very famous. But for now, we will use QSQLite. This is very lightweight database in hardly any KBs in size, 4 KB or 5 KB in size. It's very small and very powerful, very fast. So we will be using QSQLite in this video. But later we will learn how to use other databases, right? But for now, only stick to QSQLite. Now this is the file name. Now everything has a name, right? So for example, this file is called backendhelper.cpp. This is main.kml. Similarly, I want my DB file to be called uh, app database.db database.db. Uh, this is the file name I want for my database. You can name it anything you want, like test.db or something. Uh, Make sure to end with db extension because it's easy to identify and open with any database opening application. Otherwise, it won't open like directly. So anyway, after that, db.open. This is important. This line creates the file, but to actually use the file, you need to open. For example, if I want to write in this main.cpp, I need to right click here and click on open file. Now I can access and write. Similarly, to access and write in the database file, you need the open method. Now this OK means we have to use this, right? Because we are getting a warning like you're not using this variable. So if the database is open, very good. Like if OK, instead of OK, let's say is database open. So if the database is open, very good. Otherwise, what we will do is we will quit the application because we cannot proceed any further, right? If the database is not open, we cannot do anything, right? We have to just quit the application because we cannot perform any operation. So what we will do is we'll call QApp quit method. Now to use QApp, you need to do one thing. If you see, we have QGUI application here, right? So include this in the header file also. Here include QGUI application for GUI, and here now this will be accessible. So for demo purpose, I'm tweeting it in both the cases, right? So whether the database is open or not, quit anyway. So yeah, for now, just for testing purpose to see if this works or not. So when you click on the button, the setup database method will be called. We will use a SQLite database. This file will be created, and then we will open the file and then quit the application. Let's see. Now let's click on create database. So the application quit. Um, let's right click here, show in Explorer, and in the build, here you will see the database file. If you zoom in here, if you see this is called app database. If I right click here and click on properties, if you see this is a .db file called app database, right? Because the name I chose here was app database. Now let me open this. Now I'm using something called DB browser, DB browser for SQLite. You can just download this. Just Google DB browser for SQLite, go to download, and I chose this one, standard installer, to actually view the DB file, right? So if you see, the database is created, but no tables, nothing is created, right? So we created the DB file. We also opened the DB file, but now you need to create some tables, right, to operate on. If you remember, uh, what we did is we created the database file called app database. Now you need to create some tables, right? So let's call the first table as first table, and this as second table. Let's create two tables now, right? After that, we will operate on these two tables like store data, fetch data, and all this stuff. But for now, just create the two tables uh, in this video, and then we will proceed further in the next video. So, how to create table? Very simple. For that, you need to import. Uh, okay, let me just do this. Here, you need to include QSQL query. This is used for querying, right? Uh, I don't know, but like something is wrong with my CMake and stuff, right? But don't worry, you will not get any error here. Yeah. So you have to include QSQL query. This is useful. This class is only used to create the database. This is used to modify, insert, add, find, search anything in the database, right? So to create table, to read data from table, to delete table, to update table, we need this class. So let's do that. So if the database is open, don't quit the application. No need for that. I will create an object here called query, and I'll say query.prepared. Here we need to provide a statement like create table, and then we will provide the table name. Instead of this, we need to provide the table name. Now, what should be the first table name? Just call this first table. You can call this anything you want, right? For example, dog or cat or something, right? So I will call this first table, and then you have to provide the columns. See, a table has columns, right? This is a table. This table has three columns: ID, name, age. This table has only one column called age. This table has two columns called ID and age. Right? So we need to provide the columns, and what data they store. For example, ID stores integer, right? Name stores string or text. Age stores integer like 21, 23, right? So you need to provide how many columns. For example, if I want two columns, ID and let's say name. So ID is integer, name is text in SQL terms. So let's do that. So in parentheses, we need to say the first column will be called ID. You can also call this small ID or like this, anything, right? Or let's say call this my ID or something. So I'll call this ID. It will be integer. And the second column will be name. It will be text. And after that, you can or cannot provide a semicolon. It's optional. After preparing, like this is the string which we want to run. So we will say query dot exec to execute the query, right? So exec method. So this will create the first table. Now just copy this exact same thing and do this again. And this time we will call this second table. Here we will store ID, name, and age. Let's do one thing. Let's make this name like this, right? Looks better, I think. Again, age will be like this. Age will be also integer, right? Uh, Also add a phone number. Let's say phone text because we need extension also. Like phone has something like this plus 91 and then phone number, right? So let's make it text. You can also make this integer, right? But there is overflow issue stuff. So let's make it text. So now when you run the application once more, it will create two tables. We will see that. So let's run the application once and click on create database. Now this did not quit because I removed the Q app quit here. So let's see. Let's double click this app database file. Now if you see, I don't know if I can zoom or not. Uh, I don't think I can zoom here, guys. Okay, let me see if I can. No, I cannot zoom. Anyway, I hope this is visible. Let me shrink it and show you. This is that there are two tables. One is called first table. The other is called second table. If I expand this, it has ID and name. It has ID, name, age, and phone number, right? If I click on browse data here, for the first table, you will see two things, right? You will see ID and you will see name. I hope this is visible. And for the second table, you will see four things: ID, name, age, and phone, right? I hope this is visible, guys. So we have four things. So in a way, we created two tables, right? Now, if you want to add data here, right? If I want to add data, uh, okay, there has to be an option here to add or something. But anyway, forget that. We will add data anyway from our code, so no need to worry. But here data will come. Like one, the name will be ABC. Two, the name will be XYZ something, right? So we are successful in creating the database file. In the next video, we'll be learning how to add data stuff and fetch data. After that, we will learn how to update and delete and all this stuff, right? All the CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete. But I hope this was helpful. If you have any doubt, like ping me, I will help you out. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.